I'd like to give a special shout out to all my patrons, my Wildlings Knights watching Kingsguard. My Kingsguard include Brendan, Nick, Oscar, Stuart, Josephine, Ikaika, Amanda, RJ, Shad, Nicoletta, Tanner, Jennifer, Sarah, Pat, Kevin, Ryan, Michael, Terrence, Wade, Darren, FM, Derry, and Boss. Thank you all so much. You're the best. Welcome back to another episode of Dudes Talking Manga. My name is Jimmy Nuts, and I'm joined today by my co-host, as always, Andrew. Andrew, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, my friend. A lot better than last time. Not sick this time, so can
Yes,
act
that is.
can actually talk.
Yeah, we're glad to hear it. And today we're not going to be covering the fifth deluxe edition. If this is your first time ever being here, we were just finishing up deluxe edition for Berserk. We kind of broken them up into that, but we are a little short on time this month because it is a shorter month, and we both are going out of town for a good chunk of this month. So instead of going and doing deluxe edition five, we've decided to cover something that was brought up in the comments, which I want to give a shout out to everyone that's been in the comments and telling us to check this out because this is pretty major. And that is chapter 83 of Berserk, which is the Lost Chapter. I did notice whenever we were reading through Deluxe 4, I said, we went from 82 to 84. What happened? That's a little weird. And it seems, from what I can tell, Kentaro Miura is, or thought that this gave away a little bit too much at the ending. Unfortunately, obviously, his untimely death and his sad passing, it's one of those things now where people feel pretty comfortable recommending it out because we're not getting a true proper ending, even though I heard that it does end on a high point. But people said that this is not technically canon, but we should check it out, especially after a lot of the discussion that me and you had last time at the end of the Golden Age, talking about free will and such. So we've decided to do a video a little bit shorter today, but to cover the Lost Chapter, chapter 83. I read through this today. I found it online, and I was perplexed to say the least. What about you?
Yeah, you said thank you to the people in the comments. I don't know if we want to thank them or not. Kind of make you sit here scratching your head a little bit more. Oh
um,
yeah, was it good? We read it. I don't know. I mean, we'll dive in, but yeah, it just
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was a little nervous that like maybe it would kind of give away stuff like that was coming up,
Mhm.
but I saw multiple comments talking about how we should read it, so I thought it would be a good idea.
No, it
And my brain,
definitely added to it. I'm glad we did for
well,
sure.
yeah, it poses a lot of big questions. I
Yeah,
think I can
no doubt.
see why he didn't want he took it out. I can see it because
Yeah,
I
I agree.
assume that this would have played pretty majorly into the ending of the series. And by the way, if this is your first time checking out the channel here, we are first time readers, so we do not know all of the nuances and all of the details. We do our very best to catch them, but we get a lot of stuff wrong. But that's part of the journey and that's part of the fun, and that's why there's rereads. And
Mhm.
we're just having fun. We're kind
Oh
of new
yeah,
to manga, and we're definitely new to Berserk.
yeah.
But we are having the time of our lives.
Oh, I
Well,
love it.
pretty miserable. I would say sometimes it gets pretty miserable with how sad everything is.
Yeah, there's a light though. I think. I hope. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
there's got to be people keep reading it. So,
well, definitely, and it
yeah,
definitely
you'll
makes
love
you
it.
think. And I
Yes.
think that chapter 83 might be the most thinking I've done. What were your like initial thoughts?
Yeah, because I mean, with all the background of people saying, it tells you too much. I think that there was a certain tipping point of it, and I think we'll go chronological order like we normally do. But there's one point I feel like some of it could have been used, and I think it could have been intertwined into the book, and I don't think it would have given away too much personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it almost takes away from what Berserk's all about, and that is unanswered questions, in my opinion. It's tantalizing. It's what's going to happen. Is this meaningful? Most of the time, it is meaningful, and I think that it really did just pull back the curtain way too much. And I
Yeah.
would say probably about 3/4 of the way through. And there's one statement I think that really hits it.
So you feel like some of it, like you didn't feel like was too much, but then at a
Mhm.
certain point you felt like maybe it was giving away. It's hard to say because we don't know what the ending would have been,
Very
right?
true.
That's
Very
that's
true.
so tough and
Mhm.
such a shame. But I think I kind of agree. I
Yes, I was
kind of
going to ask
like I
what you
almost wish it was included and maybe in future. I don't think they would do that in future runs because I don't think Miura wanted it, right? So it's not.
Yeah.
This is technically not canon. So when we're discussing this, this is kind of like doesn't actually count for the story, but we get to talk about it anyways. I think there's a lot of other questions to ask out of this because I read through this 3 times,
Mhm.
and on the third time, I started asking myself, what is this implying? And I guess we can start to kind of just chronologically go through. We see Griffith is descending down and further, and he sees this like monstrous looking thing. Did you think it looked like a heart?
Oh, yeah, it would almost look like a heart on, like, the end of, like, a chalice.
Yeah, it was weird, and
And was the heart talking or was the wall of eyes talking? Like, that was the part that yeah, or it's just ruminating from everything. And then I look back too to see where Griffith came from and try to see if we're like, if it had anything to do with because, you have the God hand and then you have a heart,
mm,
where is he at in this? Is he in the throat? Is he in the heart? Is he like, where is it coming from? And now it does show like a vortex up in the sky, and that's where he flies out of once he gets, once he
gets
gets
his
transformed.
wings
Yeah. Yeah.
with his Red Bull.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an early plug for Red Bull. I don't think Red Bull was out when this came out.
Well, it seems like it's a piece, and it even says that
Mhm,
it says, "I'm a piece. I am the." I think it even calls itself the core, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just
mhm,
refer to it as God. It says, "My core."
mhm.
So it's obviously part of. This is one piece of a larger body.
Yeah.
And it says, "I am the idea of evil, the desired God." And Griffith immediately starts questioning, like, what is all this? And he's saying it's an ocean of feelings all humans have deep in their souls, a common consciousness that transcends individuality, their collective consciousness as a species. Its dark side, this swelling ocean. I was born from these swells as the ego of this world, the darkness. It says, "I am this world. I am this world, the darkness that dwells in every human heart. The idea of evil. This is God." So, so does that mean like I see this from a lot of different perspectives, but I immediately say, okay, like it's the darkness in the human heart that has created this idea.
Mhm, and it says the desired God too, which we've in prior readings too, we hear the desired God. And I mean, for that, I feel like it's so fitting because, everyone has a desire to blame something else. And I think that's the biggest part. That was my biggest takeaway from this is nothing has any meaning if this stays in the book. I mean,
Well, I think so. That's actually a good point because obviously it's a very nihilistic look of things, right?
yes.
Saying that God is created basically out of the evil of the human heart. And Griffith says, "Is this hell?" He's like, "Hell, yeah, some call it that," which
Yeah.
I thought was like pretty, like, okay, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like,
um,
that's fine. I mean,
and
they're all
then Griffith says hell, and then you see his shadow, like a dark version of his face, just with his eyes peering out, which I thought was a nice touch.
Mhm.
And he says, "This is just the God speaking." Says, "This is just the surface of multiple layers of the whole consciousness," uh, which says if there's multiple layers, and this God says that he controls destiny. So does that mean there's other gods out there that are pieces of the human consciousness that control things that aren't destiny?
Yeah, so it's not yeah, this is all for me, it's all going inside like, it's all happening inside of Griffith's head, right?
Yeah, I think well, I mean,
Or
it obviously has to exist because it has an external effect on all the other characters as we see, like,
yeah, that's a good
everyone's
point.
getting
Yeah,
torn apart. So
yeah,
I think it doesn't just exist in Griffith. I think it exists in humanity as a
yeah,
whole concept of the human consciousness,
mhm.
right? Like when we talk about human consciousness and we're all part of this weird reality, it's like if that existed on a plane, I'm
This
getting
is the
far out there.
oh, yeah, I know, but
And
yeah,
some people
this is the evil vortex, this is
Well, it says
the eclipse.
violence and it's just like the culmination of all of it, right? And
Mhm.
violence and loneliness, this place filled with all kinds of blurred negative feelings. It is truly the will that defines human nature. And I feel like there's a little bit of squeezing in here where you could say, well, what if you didn't take the dark path or you didn't feel the loneliness? Like my kind of feeling towards it is maybe Guts as our protagonist in the story is the fight against the idea that we do not have free will or the fact that all of those evil desires in the heart end up resulting in hell.
Yeah,
By the way, if people you might be listening to say, "What in the world you totally missed the
these
point."
guys
We're not
might be out on a limb, but hey.
yeah, we're not philosophers,
No,
and
I'm
I think
definitely not, yeah.
and even though this does that, obviously Miura thought this gave away a lot. I think like there's a lot of questions here, like
There
we got to
is.
ask, and
Mhm.
it's shame that I won't feel the resolution of this because I think that these are excellent questions, and if we had gotten an ending, looking back on this would have been massive,
Well, I
right?
think did you notice too, it was a sliver of a panel on the right side, from where I was reading, and there the Bahilit was in that, and it was right, I think, when he was saying, "This is hell." It just went little I mean, it's just a little speck of it, and I'm like, "What is like, why
Yeah,
is
I
that thing
couldn't tell if that was
floating?"
the website or if it was in the manga.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
So,
tell.
I didn't know because they had a couple like that, and I was like, is that something somebody added to this?" That's what's a little hard about reading it on there, and obviously, it's a little bit more untethered from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But
We're used to opening up the deluxe editions, right? So
yeah,
it's
feeling
a
the
little.
letter, you know?
But Griffith is like as confused as we are, saying, "But
Yeah,
why? Why were you born? Why did humans give birth to this will called God?" And this is the most fascinating piece here. It says humans desired reasons, reasons for pain, reasons for sadness, reasons for life, reasons for death. Why were their lives filled with suffering? Why were their deaths absurd? And it goes on and on and on. They wanted reason for their destiny that kept transcending their knowledge. And that piece kind of confuses me at the very end, but to me, it's almost like we look for reason and purpose in chaos that is like life.
yeah.
And I think that's pretty true to today, right? Like we look for a higher being, or we look for some people like essential oils or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
we're always trying to make a reason of this chaos whenever it really just is.
I think that that was part of it too. Exactly what you just said. It is, and it is. I mean, not to be whatever. It is what it is with it. And I think having this in there does shine the light on too much. I mean, for me, that was it answers too many questions.
I think it asks a lot of
Oh,
questions too,
yeah,
though.
that's literally it's exactly what I was gonna say. It's just I mean, my brain was just wrung out like a sponge. I did. I had to read it like 5 times. I'm like, "Man, this is so much to unload." And I think too I don't know if we would have if it would have been in there though, you know?
Yeah.
Another question.
it,
Would
you
it
know
have as much power if it wouldn't have been in there?
yeah, and
Or if it would have been in there?
they wanted reasons, for this stuff to happen. And Griffith says, and that was God. And the heart and the God heart, whatever it is, just it kind of answers. And I produce those as as it is what I've been brought to existence for. I control destiny. And this is where I said, "Oh, you were brought to existence." Now that spawns from the human. So if the human spawns the God, then the humans ultimately control
Yes.
their destiny.
But then it's saying that it's destiny, then they don't control it.
Yeah, do we give up the control of our own destiny whenever we sell out to the idea of a higher power, that there's a reason? Like, does that then give away our own? Are we giving away our own free will? Is the question.
Yeah, and creating that to have answers.
Yes. And do we do evils as human beings in the name of these gods, right?
Mhm.
Because we look for the reasons and we have to fulfill certain aspects of prophecy and whatnot. I mean, this is a very deep.
There's a lot to unpackage.
Yeah, it's wild. And obeying the will of the essence of humankind, I weave every man's destiny. And then Griffith says, "Well, that means that you're the one who gave me the destiny. Like this
Mhm.
is meant to be this way." And basically says it was established that you would be here in the distant past. And he says, "I controlled the story so that you could fit in," which is a little bit of that meta fiction, like where it's like literally the story that I'm
Yeah,
reading, or the story of your life. That's a very interesting thing.
it is.
Um, but basically says, "I put you here." And I think it's interesting in that panel. He says, "I manipulated history to put you right in the exact spot." And it shows Guts
Yes.
in the crowd. And it's like, I feel like Guts was supposed to be a side character in the story, but Guts is like taking a step out of the script.
Yes.
It's a very meta thing.
I 100% second that. That wasn't supposed to happen. It
Yeah.
was supposed to be a little bit of a part, but not nearly as much as of an impact as Guts had.
Well, Guts almost derails the whole thing. Griffith
True.
says, "You're the only one that I thought of other than my dream." Um,
But he also says he's the only thing that kept him alive. So
I mean, I don't doubt
yeah.
that the God Hand or God or whatever it was put Guts in Griffith's life to help him get to where he is. I think that they're just in for a rude awakening to think that Guts is going to lay down, or maybe that's Guts. It's I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah, I don't either.
but I love that I'm thinking about like
Yeah,
this.
100%. It's great.
Yeah. So and basically, Griffith says, "Well, what do you want from me?" And he says, "I dwell deep in your heart. I am a part of you. You are a part of your kind's consciousness, a part of me. Your desire is my desire as well." So I feel like this is kind of like do what you will with this.
Mhm.
Like,
But it's still gonna come back because I still control it.
yeah,
That's how I get it.
but it only had it, but it dwells in our consciousness, so we control it too.
Yeah,
It
it's a part of us. So you input into it, but does it
it's
control you?
it's
Do
like
you control it?
circular,
Yeah,
It's a loop.
crazy eights, man.
Yeah, I get a very strong loop feeling.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, you wonder if you give agency to this god, are you then surrendering your free will to
Well,
that
he
destiny?
says too, as soon as he has the Behelit too,
Hmm.
that locked him in.
Yeah, and your actions, your desire is my desire as well. Your actions themselves shall prove to be suitable for your kind as a whole. May they bring pain or salvation to mankind. So it seems like there's a choice there. Like
Mhm.
that you can do what you will with this.
Yeah, that brings the question up too. Is there more of these? Is this just the evil eclipse and that's the way he went? And that's where he put more of his energy into because of this
Well,
dream?
I think that he had to do that to get to this point. I don't think there was any other way around that. But now it's like, so now that you have this power, do as you will. And it's a big
I
panel
yeah,
showing the heart. You know, it says,
he
"Do
is you
as you
will. Yeah,
will."
yeah,
And I know we keep saying heart. Someone's gonna go, "That's not a heart." Okay, whatever.
yeah.
It looks like a heart to me. So the big God thing with valves, do as you will, chosen one. And
Mhm.
it's like that interesting play on the trope of the chosen one,
Yeah,
because the
back to
chosen
that.
one generally goes good, right?
Mhm.
So
Well I guess we can get to it in a second too. We're just talking about, now that God Hand's complete, so what does that I mean, what does that mean?
I don't know.
There's 5 of there's 5 of them now.
Yeah, and folks, if you're listening to this comment and you want to give us answers to that, please don't let us get to there. We don't want any
Yeah.
spoilers for anything. We're only going to cover this and things prior, so we don't want any spoilers for any future things. But just to put that out there. But we see Griffith ask for wings. He wants a Red Bull. He gets his Red Bull. And the god base says, "We'll do this. We'll do this physical change your body into a shape suitable for your task."
Yes, the
Is there a, s-
task. I
is there a
mean
specific task? You think?
as soon as he got him, we know what he did. He just immediately went back and
Yeah.
yeah.
Didn't make me happy, that's for
No.
sure, with everything that followed. But
But was that the last thing in making him not feel as human? Is that the final? So we said we get to this point of he can make the decision. I mean, they were still up until the point of his rebirth. He still had the decision. They were saying you can become one of these people, or you can basically stack bodies and get your dream. So he's still at least presented with what we think is the choice of free will.
yeah, and he comes back and violates Casca too. So
Yeah,
I mean, I think Griffith is fundamentally flawed. I think he is a bad person.
yeah,
But I'm sure there's some nuance there. But if you think back to everything, and we posed this question. Do you remember whenever Griffith's, all of his muscles are cut and he like fall on top of Casca, like throws himself, and we thought, oh, he wanted to hug.
yeah,
Well, everyone in the comments let us know, no, Griffith
yeah.
was trying to do what he ends up doing when he comes back with his wings.
Well, I think that too. That's another just severing of the ties to Guts. I mean, because that is his big anchor. So he has to do something so diabolical that Guts will never even like either try to save him, try to get him, try to stop him, try to get him back from his dream, or make his rebirth not happen, and he becomes another body in the vortex.
Well, yeah, and he also wants that power over Casca. Like it's clear.
Yes.
Like he wants to assert that dominance and it to be, because it hurt him watching Guts and her have a thing. Like
Hmm.
that's why he threw himself when he was like, sliced up. That's why he threw himself on top of her, because he
Yeah.
wanted to maybe even just hurt Guts, but he also wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he had Casca. It's a very big power dynamic,
Hmm.
and I don't think we're done with all the damage and the trauma
No.
that's happened with, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. This Lost Chapter was a mind bender.
It really
I
was.
think it'll change in meaning for me the more I read. Like
I
as we continue.
Yeah. Another question too I had is some of the apostles. So, what differentiates someone similar to Wild and Zod? They aren't they're not in the eclipse. They're outside. They're not in
Well,
that world. Are they in that world? Are they not in that world? Can they
well,
how are they born?
Zod seems like he's entertained by all this.
Yeah.
And he kind of says, "I'll let Guts go because I want to see. I can't believe he made it through the eclipse. Let's see what happens." And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, does Zod belong to like a different god hand or something? Are there multiple god hands?
Yeah. Or well, that's the thing too. Where are those things born from too? I mean, that maybe that's just something that's never answered. But you would think that somehow, and especially with us seeing some of the other characters, with the Count being one of the slugs, that's funny. The only time that I thought it was the Count, I was like, no, it's not the Count. And then everyone's like, yeah, it was the Count. Come on,
Yeah.
like seriously, the one time I had like thought it was and it wasn't.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys like calling out
Absolutely.
little things like that that we
Yeah,
missed.
and, couldn't believe I went back on the reread immediately after I saw the comments, and I'm like, "How did I miss the arm rip?" So, sorry, everybody. I definitely don't know how I missed that,
It's
but
all good, man. You know,
it's like,
sometimes we're not in our right minds when we're reading these things,
yeah, sure,
So
sure. But, I mean, there were some other things on the pages I was just
yeah, I don't hang around on every panel for too long because
Yeah.
sometimes those pages haunt me before I go to sleep at night. But yeah, I mean, this last chapter though is really incredible. I think it is obviously a legendary piece of Berserk, even though it's not canon and we didn't get the complete ending. It poses a lot of questions to the reader, and I think it'll mean something different with each edition that we read further in now.
Yeah, and I wonder too, they said so I wonder if, like, when they're being born into a part of the God hand, do they get to choose? Because they all have different, um, I can't I think it's Void, the guy with the big brain.
Maybe I can't
Um,
remember.
so they all have different, obviously they look different, and Griffith has wings. They're all shaped different, have different attributes. Do they get to choose something for their specific jobs too? And again, that might be a
I think
if
so.
it's yeah,
I think so. I
it
think
would almost have to, right?
yeah, I
'Cause
think it
that's
has
how
some
the birthing process
symbolism.
goes.
I think it's symbolism for something that they've wanted their entire time they're making the sacrifice,
Mhm.
and Griffith wanted wings, so,
I mean, I would
it
probably get wings too, but
yeah, I wanna fly, I wanna be
pretty hype.
birdman, yeah, it's pretty dope.
Pretty
Don't know if I would,
Yeah, I don't think I'd go through it.
pay the price.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Uh, so yeah, folks, we know this is a little bit shorter than we usually do. We will be back to cover Deluxe 5 in the remainder of that. I can't remember the name of the very short arc that's right after Golden Age. Someone can remind me in the comments, but we'll be back. This was just a video we wanted to do because one, this chapter is insanely interesting.
Yeah.
Two, a lot of people commented and said you guys have to do this. And three, we're a little bit short on time. So we wanted to do this to get something out. We try to do every 2 weeks for Dudes Talking Manga and covering Berserk. And we're having a blast. We're having a good
Oh, yeah.
time. And we'll
Got
be
my
back.
tapestries in too. Well, I'm always
Yeah, take a look.
yeah,
Look
man.
around.
Take a look around. Come
Yeah,
on in.
I want to get some Berserk shirts. So if anyone knows anywhere that you can get some like quality Berserk merch, please let me know down in the comments. Also, I want to hear other people's thoughts on the Lost Chapter, but please try to keep it non-spoiler. And don't spoil anything that might be coming up for us, because part of the fun is just being completely, engulfed in this and being blown away by some of the twists and the turns. So,
Yeah, I am.
all right,
Enjoying
man.
the ride.
Yeah, that's right. We really are. We're excited to be back in 2 weeks for
Yeah, for sure.
another episode, and we'll be covering a lot more. So, all righty, man. Well, that's the Lost Chapter, and now it's onward ahead into more of the Pain Train.
Hopefully, we have some good things.
We want to thank you guys so much for checking this out. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It definitely helps other people find the channel. And we're going to be covering all types of manga here after Berserk as well. We still have a ton to go in Berserk. I think it's going to be pretty much the remainder of this year is probably going to be all Berserk, which we're very happy about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but leave us comments down below. Let us know what you think about the Lost Chapter, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, like I said, for Deluxe Chapter 5. For me and for Andrew, we're going to be signing off today. Until we see you next time, be good, be safe. Remember to always
Keep turning the page.
that's right.